Hi guys, welcome to Chakra Sessions. I'm your host, Polly Jo Labbé, and I'm here with my beautiful guest, Neshi. Here we are, Star Nations Academy, broadcasting to you live here on Facebook through Be Live TV. And, you know, we're here to talk about the truth of a multidimensional being. Sounds huge. What do you think?
Something we've been doing since last Wednesday.
Yes. Yeah. So I was here teaching all weekend, and Neshi was here assisting. We had a fantastic group of women who gathered together to really access some higher, fuller versions of themselves, and to clear stuff that was just really in the way. And you know, we realized that it would be helpful to chat about it, and why you would want to do it.
Well, that, and many times we don't even know we're doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Exactly.
And so it really is, for me, it really is about being more consciously aware of when that happens. So here's a big question, I think, is that if we can share with your audience about how do we know when we're experiencing more than one dimension? Because we're talking about the truth about being a multidimensional being, right?
Yeah. That's a good one. The truth is sometimes you don't know. But what happens is that I find that when you're experiencing more than one dimension at a time, there are things that come together. Aha moments come in quickly. And those aha moments are like on top of each other. And when those come in, you know, we can think about it being synchronistic. We can think about it being coincidence. But it's when things start to fall together kind of rapidly. That's one of the ways.
Yeah, it's those coincidences. I know. Sorry, guys, but I think there's something wrong with my camera.
Yeah, it's a little dark.
Because the light just keeps going. And that's another one. Electronics. Yeah, and where aren't we heading into the Mercury thing? It's like talking about snow. We don't do that yet. For me, when I consciously know that I'm experiencing more than one dimension, is the earth, the third dimension, or even the lower fourth, the time thing. Either gets kind of wonky, or it is I lose track of time.
Yeah.
Right. It's like 1 minute it's 9 o'clock, and the next it's 10:30, and what happened to that hour and a half?
Yeah,
kind of thing. Then, and also, have you ever noticed sometimes things look a little fuzzy around the edges? That kind of thing.
Yeah,
and the coincidences.
Yes,
the coincidences.
Yes. Often, I know when I'm working in a higher vibration, a higher frequency, a different dimension, I'm able to stretch time. Okay, I've only got an hour to do this, and I have 2 hours worth of work. Hi, Rochelle. And I say to my team, okay, time to stretch time. And it happens easily. And as long as I am not consciously watching the clock and throwing myself back into this third dimension, allowing so much to enter and happen in that time is true as well.
Yeah.
Hi, Deborah.
Thanks for watching later. We know how much we like our recorded shows too. And thank you guys for sprinkling.
Yes, thanks for sprinkling the love.
Yeah. The time stretching. Lots of times people will ask me, is there any consequence to that? Like a backlash. And my response to them has always been no, because it depends on what your intention is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's harm to none, right?
Right. Always.
Always. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have that backlash when usually when I'm stretching time, it has to do with fitting everything that needs to be fitted for the highest good into the time we have left together, whatever that is, whether it's a class or a show or whatever it is.
Right.
But I also contract time. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, for me, is like when you're in a house and it's a hallway, and the hallways and stairwells are like those places where you kind of walk through quickly to get to the next room, right? And so with the contracting of time, that's how I treat it. Mm-hmm. Is that, this is like a hallway. We're going through here really quickly to get to the next room.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So both the contracting and the expansion. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Let me ask you this one.
Okay. Go for it.
Because the sleep patterns.
Yep. That's one of the times that I definitely expand time. You know, I spend a lot of my evening receiving information, downloads from my spiritual team, guidance on how to help with my clients, my students, move things forward for other people, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And, but at the same time, I ask that, you know, and I have clients who will tell you that if they have something that they're working on, my team and I go and work on them in their sleep. And, you know, they've heard me squawking in their room. So then they know that's what's happened. And lots of times it's a prep work for them. You know, they've booked an appointment. They're coming in to do some big healing work that wouldn't necessarily fit in an hour time slot. So my team is like, okay, it's kind of like, you know, before you have surgery, you go and you have your blood work done. But I said it for, you know,
lab work.
There you go. But I set the intention that I wake up rested, regardless of how much time I've slept. I don't focus on, you know, how many hours did you get? It's like, well, did I wake up rested and ready to go? And I also honor that, you know, my team will give me these moments where it's okay for me to take a nap, and I can have a 20-minute nap feel like 2 or 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah. The sleep time, because, you know, we're our soul, or our subconscious self, as Carl and Orchun like to call it, you know, our subconscious self is that part of us that is experiencing whatever that is that we need to experience during dream time.
Yeah.
And so, especially when I've already had a really jam-packed day, and now I can sense that we're doing a lot of work in dream time. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll talk to my spiritual team, and I'll ask them to please help me to stretch earth time to have my physical body feel like I've had 8 or more hours of sleep on earth time, no matter how much time I'm actually asleep.
Yes.
And so I wake up refreshed and ready for the next day. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I can tell the difference when I don't do that.
Oh, me too.
Because I'm exhausted.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. So the truth about being a multidimensional being is using your tools, I think.
Absolutely. Using your tools, understanding that, you know, there's a reason why we talk about basic concepts over and over again, like grounding and clearing your energy field. Because the reality is, when we don't do those things, then we're stuck only in, you know, the one vibration at a time thing.
Right.
But when you're grounded, it allows you, you know, it's kind of like having a boat on the water. You know, when you're anchored, you're in a location, but it can kind of have this sense of you're still moving with the water as it's moving. Mm-hmm. Without the anchor, you're kind of, you're at the, what is that called? At the will of the water. So whatever the water wants to do, it's happening to you. When you anchor yourself, you are setting the boundary of, I am choosing how to be in my physical being. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It really does. So one of the things that I really
hi, Dad.
wait,
say hi.
We got to bring him up.
Got to bring Dad up. You know, gotta honor. Hi, Dad.
Hi, Dad. One of the things that I hope you guys have noticed is that when we're talking about or actually leading a grounding here at Star Nations, is that we're actually including now, and you started it, the multidimensional. Mm-hmm. So you're grounding not just in the where your physical body is at, but where your non-physical bodies are at as well.
Yeah, because sometimes we get a little disjointed. I talk to my students or my clients about times when they're sliding. And when you're sliding, people can have moments where they're dizzy, they're unfocused, they can't seem to recall anything. And it's because your logical brain is trying to figure out where the heck you are. And your subconscious is kind of like cute George there going, squirrel. And it chases after the squirrel or the falling leaf, and your logic brain can't keep up. Yeah. But when you're grounded, then the logic brain has an anchor. It knows where it is, mm-hmm. so that as that other stuff comes in, we don't have to bark all the time.
George has been very barky today.
He's
starting this morning, from this morning on.
Yep.
And so we have a couple other people joining us. Molly's here too. Hi, Molly.
Hi, Molly. Nice to have you.
Yeah. And Kimberly just popped in. Hey,
woo-hoo!
Kimberly.
Hi, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to mention about the grounding piece is when we are grounded, mm-hmm. when we're fully grounded, yep. Okay, and you're taking in, we already know that we take in a whole bunch of information that you may not be able to actually see with your physical eyes, right? And so when we're grounded as a multidimensional being, when we're taking in the information, we are actually getting help, right, to translate it. And we don't have to work as hard to step down that energy to try to fit it into a more denser body, right? Yes. And so you don't feel as tired. You don't feel as achy.
Yep.
Right. And a lot of times you don't have the buzzing in the ears.
Yes.
Right.
Ding, ding, ding. All you buzzers out there who think you have, what do they call that?
The ringing in the ears.
The ringing in the tonight.
Tonight is something.
Tonight, yes.
Where's Rob when you need him?
He's always got the answer. But when you have that ringing in the ears, the best way that I usually communicate that with, my students or my clients is, you have information. It's kind of like that dial-up sound we used to have.
Remember AOL?
Remember all of that noise that would come in when we were connecting to the internet? Well, that's the noise in your ear. You're connecting, but you're on a slow speed.
You're on dial-up.
You're on dial-up. So if you want to be on high-speed internet, and I know that's a clear signal for me when I have, gotten myself too stressed out or too bogged down in the physical world, start to hear a tiny bit of ringing. I'm like, whoops. I'm not where my energy works at its full capacity.
Right.
Oh,
yeah,
Carol.
Look at
Woohoo! I'm going to see you soon. Yay!
So it is, we're talking about when we're conscious, you know, when you're awake. A lot of times, you know, I'm sure you guys have friends that when you're talking with them, they're the ones that are saying that they keep seeing things out of the periphery of their vision, right? The ears are ringing. They hear mumbling.
Oh, yeah.
Those kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's a good gauge for ourselves too. Like you just said, is that when you hear that, you realize that, oh, I need to either reground or, and when you have an activated Merkaba, you can also extend your pranic tube to bring it in, that information a little bit clearer.
Yeah. So speaking of that,
sure.
I have a particular student who she hears a lot of the talking, especially when she's about to go to sleep at night. Do you have some words of wisdom besides, you know, there's extending the pranic tube? Are there any other ways that she could, because it's almost like having a house party in the house and you're not invited.
Yeah.
How do you get to sleep?
Yeah. That brings back fond memories because I used to even get up and look in the living room or someplace in the house because there's so much activity going on.
She hasn't activated her Merkaba yet.
And you think you're going to see it with your physical eyes, and you're not. You're not. And so this is one of the things, you know, it's kind of like a checklist, is that before you, well, some people do it when they actually get into bed. But you get into the habit, if you don't have an activated Merkaba, that you're actually doing your grounding, right? The clearing of the energies that you might have been in during the daytime, right? And that you're centering, and you also have your protection. Your shields are up, so to speak. Okay, that's even before you get to sleep. And so then you're also talking to your spiritual team. Because if it's important for you to know about the conversations that are going on in the party, that your team actually takes you to the party. Right? And that's going to be in dream time.
Right.
And so you're talking to your team about it. If it's something that you need to know about for your highest good or the highest good of all, is that you will be clued in. Will be clued in, but it's all those little steps, right? That you have to make a habit. It's kind of like your physical hygiene.
Yes.
You know. And this is your spiritual hygiene.
It's your energetic shower.
Right.
Brushing your teeth before you go to bed, and flush that toilet when you let stuff go.
You know, and really, as a multi-dimensional awake being, it's really your responsibility to keep your auric field as clear and clean as possible. And we have lots of tools for that. We just have to remember to do it. Yeah. Speaking of which, you might have another way to do this, which is with either the oils or the crystals, right?
Yeah. You know, for the real basics, you know, the selenite is an amazing crystal that's willing to help you clear your energy rapidly. I don't travel without it. And so you can place it on your energy body and ask it to release anything that you've picked up that's not yours, and anything that you're ready to let go of. So that's something that is really great to do right before bed. There is the auric blend. And the auric blend it's the shields up part. And sometimes the shields up are necessary, you know, when you're about to head out to work. And sometimes the shields up needs to happen at night so that you can get your sleep. You know, we are entering that time when the veil is thinner. So you also might have, you know, spiritual people who have crossed over who are like, oh, the lines of communication are clear. I'm going to come visit. But you know how it is when unwanted visitors show up at your house. You'd rather invite them in. So I also set the boundaries with my visitors that I have hours of operation of when they can visit me. And they're not allowed to enter into my bedroom. They're allowed to chat with me in my spiritual space. Basically kind of like from 9 to 5. And that's okay. It's okay, because boundaries are really great with everyone. The other oil that helps a lot to help clear stuff so that you are able to be in your own field is the energy detox. The energy detox, again, helps take off any energy, just like the selenite does. And they're a great duo, because you use the oil to get it started, and then the crystal can pull it off even more rapidly. And of course, using the grounding blend before bed, especially for those of you who know that you do some astral projection, it still allows you to go visit where you're going to visit, but it gives you, again, that anchor of this is where home is. And then you can wake up feeling rested. When we astral project without that, we can feel like we've been, running nonstop for, 500 hours and are ready to drop when we wake up.
Right. So for those who might not know what astral projection is.
Yeah.
That's what we call, well, in my family, we call it traveling.
Yeah.
Your soul traveling.
Soul traveling. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Although it sounds so much neater when you say astral projection. It's like,
woohoo!
I know how to do that. Now, if we could only learn how to bilocate, that would be even better.
Yeah, that one I'm talking to my team with a lot, because the bilocating would be really helpful. Me being here in Wisconsin, I've still got stuff to do at home. And so it would be super great if I could do both.
Which is not anything like cloning.
No, I don't want to clone. I just want to be able to be 2 places at once. It seems like a simple request.
Seems like it.
Yeah.
Or to be able to actually open a portal consciously.
Yeah.
So that we could have supper.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe, I can pop in when you have the full moon ceremony.
Oh, yeah. Come in for the full moon and we can have our meditation and healing, and then pop back and make sure, mom gets tucked in.
Yeah, that's right.
I like that.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah. So, if you guys have any questions about multidimensional, about being a multidimensional being, put it in the comments, and we will, put it in below, and we will do our best to get that answered. George is here. You saw him walking around the back, right? George, any pet really, will also help you identify. It's like, is it this morning already? Yeah, it was this morning that George is following Polly Joe around the house. It's like, and I could hear him saying, "Will you just sit down?" And because what he's been doing for Polly Joe is either laying right next to her feet, right? Or like we shared the picture, he's literally got his head in her lap, right? And so a lot of times what they'll do is our pets will help us either ground or, if we're having an emotional situation, a lot of times they'll come and be with us, right? Yeah.
It's funny. I wondered if Ocelot, my cat, I told him that, George would be in charge of me while I was here. And I wondered if Ocelot sent a message across to George.
Could be.
And sending the message to George was kind of like, mom's, when she works a lot, she sometimes has a hard time coming back down. So if you sit on her feet, or if you put your paw or your head on her lap, that'll generally help her. Because when I'm doing a lot of my work, especially when I'm channeling a lot, and I've been channeling the whole time I've been here,
right.
And I ask a question, and then all this information comes in. So it's not like it's not like it's letting up.
But that's part about being a multidimensional being.
Absolutely.
It's not like, when we're in the 3D and you turn on and off a radio or the television or something like that. It's not like that at all.
Yeah.
It's, we have boundaries, yes, but we've chosen to be awake. And so, and we've chosen to be awake, that having the channeling happen as often is one of those things that comes with it.
Yeah. And for me, one of the pieces that my team was talking about was that, being here this week, I have responsibilities, but I'm not called to do certain things. Like they have to wait until I get home. So I can't mail out, an order until I get there. Or I can't check my mail or some certain things. That while I'm here, it freed up all this time that I used to do mundane things, to actually get more work done, which then led to I need an assistant who will do the mundane things, because then I can actually get the higher vibrational work done that I need to for myself and to share with the healers and the community.
Yeah, I agree. That was one of the things that we did. We did a lot of multidimensional work yesterday.
Phew.
Mm-hmm. So Kimberly is saying, yes, my cat Bono does this when I need more grounding.
Yes.
Because they love us,
Yeah, they're good at that. And I have a lot of cat energy,
Yeah, look at her shirt.
I had to wear my cats, and some of it's because, I do connect to Egyptian work sometimes. And so there's a very strong familial cat energy that's there. Mm-hmm. But I have, cats in my animal totem and my spirit animals. So sometimes that's the way to call it in.
Right. Exactly. Let's talk a little bit about when we are consciously aware mm-hmm. of the work that we're doing, like the channeling work, and how much energy we use. We burn up literally a lot of fuel.
Oh, yeah.
So you want to share a little bit about that?
Holy smokes. I'm still working with I really believe that I should be able to lose weight from that, because I get super hot and super sweaty. And I have students who will tell you, we've actually clocked this at the sanctuary. I don't think I've ever told you that. We have when we're doing the spiritual work, even in the dead of winter in New England, I can turn off the heat completely. Mm-hmm. And we will be running between 70 and 80 degrees. Mm-hmm. When the work is going on, it's, it'll be in the 80s with the heat off in 10-degree weather. So there's a lot of juice that happens with that. And it really is creating, there's a lot of fire element that is connected to it. And so when the elements kind of converge, it's a melting pot energetically, because you want to melt the density mm-hmm. that people have been holding on to. Mm-hmm. And in that, it takes a lot of fuel. And then, that means our bodies need that fuel too. There's a lot of you're super hungry, and you got to be really, really good about doing water, which I need a water assistant.
She needs an app.
I do. I need an app on my phone that's like, drink water now. And one that feels a little bit threatening, maybe. Like, I don't get to have a cookie if I don't drink my water. You
talk about behavior modification.
I need more work on my water intake. But and different people have, we each have a different vehicle. Yes. So not everybody runs on unleaded fuel. Some people need diesel, and so I tend to have difficulty with people who say you have to eat this way, because that's only true for generally about 20% of the population.
Right.
Because there's really 5 different vehicle types, and that sort of align with the elements. Mm-hmm. Hint, hint. And so if you have more of one element, then you need more of that type of fuel.
Right. Right. I agree. You know, technically I feel better when I'm on more of a vegetarian diet, mm-hmm. except when I am doing healing kind of work, or of any kind, whether it's space clearing or drum making or any of it. I get really hungry afterwards. Mm-hmm. And so the only thing that works for me is some animal protein. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And in between time, I'm not such a big meat eater.
Yeah.
But it's at those certain times. So you really have to get to know your physical vehicle and what will help you feel really good in your physical body. There'll be times when you might not need certain food,
right?
And other times when you will.
Yeah.
It's that caffeine thing, right?
Yeah.
I need just a tiny bit of caffeine, and I don't even necessarily need it every single day. But come the 3rd or 4th day, yes, indeed, yes. I need something, because that also kicks in the withdrawals. But I just need a tiny bit. I don't need to. I'm not one of those people that says I gotta have a cup of coffee before I do anything in the morning. Right. No, but I think that as an awake, multidimensional being, only you know what is good for your body and when to take it.
Yep. Yep.
When to take it in. The way we burn fuel, our food, it defies, 3rd dimension.
Yeah.
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 That's the best way I think I can put it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. So Carol has a question or a response.
Okay. She says, I read where the yawn response we have to another person yawning is seated in empathy. As an empathic woman, what do you think about this? Which chakra relates to empathy? Well, that's a good question.
Yeah. So let me start with what chakra. Empathy is most deeply seated. That's how my team wants to say it. In the heart chakra, because it's very connected to our inner child. Our inner child is sensing the other inner child. And, with the yawning, that's a release of energy. And so, because it's not always about being tired, we know there's times when we're yawning because we're trying to get more oxygen in, and our lungs are connected to our heart chakra. So sometimes the yawning is to get more breath of life in. And then when somebody else is doing a deep breath, you can't help but take a deep breath. It also happens when people sigh. And I find that if you're holding like a baby or a small animal, when they sigh, you take that sigh breath as well. Because it's like reminding us, hey, you might need a breath.
Yeah. We're shallow breathing.
We don't even realize we're holding our breath until somebody else is like, and that's like, oh, yeah, that could help.
Yeah. That reminds me of drum making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I better keep up with her.
When I am teaching a drum making class, a lot of times there's a certain point in the drum making where I can feel people holding their breath or not taking deep breaths. And so I will remind people to breathe, take in a deep breath. And what I noticed is that it's also connected to the time when you can feel the spirit of that drum coming into the drum, because you're literally creating. There's alchemy, and you're helping to bring in a spirit that's going to live in that drum.
Right.
And so that holding of the breath, or the shallow breathing, happens just before that spirit comes in.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I'm asking them to take that deep breath, to remember to breathe, is because how do I want to put this? It's like allowing that spirit a much easier entry, right? Much easier entry into the drum. So that also tells me that there's other times, that we all want to take those deep breaths before you enter a sacred site.
Yep.
Right. Perhaps it's even when you go visit certain people, or when you're talking to them on the phone.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're trying to broach a difficult subject.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We all know that if we can take a deep breath, it's easier to speak our truth. Because again, the truth is connected to our heart, but it's also connected to our throat and how we communicate our truth. So our truth and our integrity and all of that lives in, a lot of it lives in our heart. But then when we breathe deeply, it allows it to come through the heart to be expressed.
Right. That's why they call it the spirit truth.
Yes.
The tongue.
Yes.
And the tongue muscle, a lot of people think it's just here in your mouth, but it's not. It goes all the way down your throat and actually attaches down here.
Yep.
And so it's actually a very large muscle.
Yes. Yeah.
It's all connected there. So.
And George is sitting on our feet to make sure that we are able to do this show right now. Stay with you. You're welcome, Carol. I'm glad that was helpful.
Yeah, that was a good question.
It's perfect. Really
question. So we talked about sleeping, eating.
Yep. Grounding.
I'm just double checking to see if we forgot something. Yeah, Carol's also saying that yawning and taking in spirit.
Yeah. I think that's actually why a lot of people yawn in church, to be truthful. People are like, oh, well, maybe it's because it's boring. It's like, no, I think that, all the ways you've blocked yourself from connecting to spirit show up when you're in that sacred place. And so it's trying to get you to open up and take more of that energy in.
Yeah, I agree. And we have to even look at the extra oxygen that we're taking in, right?
Yeah.
Because what happens with the oxygen in our bodies, right? It helps to ignite the fuel.
Yep.
Helps to burn.
Yeah, absolutely. So that we can actually do and be who we want to be.
And I think it's a great way to rationalize having chocolate in a class. Because it's grounding.
It's very grounding. Yeah. And now that, Bobby, who isn't with us right this second, she found me a chocolate I could have again.
Oh yeah.
And it my inner child just went berserk because there's a number of ingredients in chocolate that I can't have, and she and her spirit team magically brought me a chocolate I could have, which then allowed me to find stuff so I could have it, because it is very grounding. And coffee used to be very grounding for me too. And now the energy is difficult because like I have decaf coffee. So I'm using the same ritual of coffee. I'm using the ritual of coffee to help ground in the morning without the caffeine piece of it, but very, very fun.
Right. And yesterday, like I said, we did a whole lot of energy work without it seeming like energy work, right?
Yep.
And so in the afternoon, after I took care of Mom and her snack and stuff. We ran and did an errand, to get some shipping done for Polly Joe. And I needed a new coffee mug because over the weekend, the one I've had since 2007 started to leak. Small leak on the bottom. So I was going to replace it. We went to Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that is like a huge, gift because I don't get to do that very often. And so even though we were sitting there having decaf and real coffee, leaded coffee,
Mm-hmm.
We had major breakthroughs.
Breakthroughs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it was definitely, the other thing is when you're in your multidimensional energy and you connect with somebody else who's in theirs, it accelerates both of yours. It amplifies both of yours. Mm-hmm. So it's like, when you're driving alone, you may be, in second gear, but you get to go into overdrive when you have somebody else near you. And just think about the gatherings of when you gather people together, what happens. And how quickly the healing flows, how quickly the support flows, because we were actually really talking about business.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of similarities in our businesses. And so as one of us is talking through our thing, the other one is like getting the information they need while they're then sharing what the other person needs. And there was some
aha moments in that.
Yeah. That felt like weeks of work that we did yesterday.
In a matter of just a couple of hours.
In a couple of hours. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think we both now have plans of attack for multiple things.
Yes.
Which is perfect.
Yeah. We have a strategy.
Yeah.
A multi-dimensional being strategy.
Yes. Yes.
That sounds like a class or a book, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Somebody write that down. Oh my gosh. So let's see. I'm just going to check the time. One of the things I wanted to let our audience know, your audience know, because this is Chakra Sessions.
Yes.
Is that this is actually two-part situation here. You want to tell them a little bit about it?
No.
You want to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, with Polly Joe being here in Wisconsin, being her normal Tuesday show day, we were thinking of what topic can we talk about together? Mm-hmm. And you know how Polly Joe usually does her show is that she gives you some information and then leads a meditation in the second half of the show, right? Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of going to happen the same way, except that the second half of this show is going to happen in my evening show, Communications from Home, tonight.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So, if you guys have any questions, like after the show, and because that happens, right? You're thinking about the information that was shared, and then all of a sudden, I should have asked that, or I should have said that. Mm-hmm. Please put it into the comments because we're going to take a look at those. And if you have any questions or maybe a point that you wanted to share, we'll do that tonight in Communications from Home. We'll answer those or bring those points back up.
Yeah.
And then in the second half of the evening show, Polly Joe is going to do her meditation work. So you guys actually, because tomorrow night, Wednesday night would normally be Soul Connections, right? Yeah. But Polly Joe is going to be in flight or just getting home.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I'm landing when if everything goes well, I'll be landing when the show would be starting. Yeah. And trying to broadcast in my car or from the airport just didn't feel in the fullest energy I could be in.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Fullest energy.
And so we were thinking that it might be really, really advantageous for us to be a part of the guided meditation this evening so that as you are getting ready for bed or for the rest of your evening, you're going to be in that energetic field consciously, right? And then you're going to have to let us know about dream time. And the dreams or something like that, right?
Yay!
So it's going to be very, very conscious, right? And Carol
love
says,
you, Carol.
I was watching the debate. When I read that, Carol, I thought, what debate? Who's debating? You know?
Yeah.
That's the political stuff.
Yeah.
Talk about third dimension. Huh?
Yes. It's been an interesting thing. Neshi's mom, she's very into politics. She's 100. She's got 100 years of opinion on politics. And so, she's got a lot of fuel for that fire. And so it's just an interesting, energetic connection for me sometimes. That I was watching the how the vibration feels when you are watching just the news. And there was this shift yesterday when she was watching some shows. Yeah. And I could experience a shift. And it was like, and I knew it in theory, but I hadn't sat in it. That somebody is stuck in fear energy, stuck in the 3D stuff, and then they have a moment where they've shifted just a half a step, and what that can do to the vibration. Right. And I've experienced it with clients in a moment, but this wasn't somebody doing the work. Right. This was just somebody choosing differently. She chose differently yesterday, and it shifted a little bit. So that
gotta love Hallmark Channel.
Hey. So it's just, and that's part of the multidimensional being, is that we have choices all the time. Right. Are we choosing things that are aligned with fear? Are we choosing things that are aligned with self-love? And there are times when we can't choose self-love because we're putting other people first, because that's what's needed in that moment. But we can also do it from a place where we don't attach resentment or regret or anything that would pull that heartfelt sharing down into a lower frequency. And boy, the debates, that is pretty low frequency.
Yes, it is.
Because it's throwing rocks at each other, or I don't know. Yeah. Javelins.
Well, we won't be watching.
We won't be watching.
We'll be doing a show.
We'll be doing a show.
Yeah.
It wouldn't occur to either of us to even know when the debate was. I just check the energy of candidates.
Yes.
And at this point, it's a matter of who can hold their integrity. And can anyone? Remains to be seen.
We always have such a long time between now
and it's a whole year. So
that can happen.
I tap into the energy a little later generally.
Yeah.
When the primaries start in around my place, when I need to vote, then I tap into to the energy of the candidates and the energy of the issues, and feel what will move humanity forward.
Right. Which is another way of being able to be an awake, conscious, multidimensional being, and still being participating in what we might term a lower vibration, right? Which is politics, and which is voting and all of that. Because there's some people who are spiritual people. They choose not to interact at all with that. They don't vote. They don't They don't know who the candidates are. They don't know any of that, right? And so, and you have to choose that for yourself, you know, because technically all the paths that we take are going to lead us to the same place.
Yeah.
It depends on what the experience you want to have.
Yeah.
Right. So personally, I keep track of certain things, kind of like a pulse point.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And when something happens that I can maybe assist in either bringing up the vibration or speaking a truth.
Yep.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
You guys know that, you know, talk about water protection and sacred site protection, you know, and that sort of thing. And I'm right there.
Yeah.
Anything to do with helping with Grandmother Earth. Now the thing is that Grandmother Earth, you know, we're following her. It's not the other way around.
Yep.
And so if she didn't want us here, we wouldn't be here. She'd shake us off.
Shake us off.
Fleas, you know? And so, you know, I still think that we have to have some respect for her and to clean up our rooms. Right?
Absolutely.
Right. So, So being a multidimensional being doesn't mean that you negate or turn your back on certain aspects.
Oh, no.
You know?
Nope. It's that, you know, you hold your energy.
Yes.
I mean, that's true with any relationship, right? That it's really important that you hold your own energy, and that you don't shift your energy to match who you're in relationship with. And so sometimes things that create conflict, we lower our vibration to match someone else rather than holding our energy and inviting them to match ours. And so when we can really tap into how to hold our vibration, then, you know, things like going and voting. I mean, I do know a lot of people who are spiritual, who don't vote. And that's for them to choose, you know. But there's also that part of me that is, you know, if those of us who are able to hold a higher intention for humanity, for, you know, this global community, if we get out there and use our truth and use our voice, couldn't we possibly change and move things at a more rapid pace? Because again, it's the multidimensional beings gathering together, which amplifies our energy and accelerates change. It's not about yelling louder. No. It's about standing fully.
Well put. Thank you and your team, because that was a channeled message.
Absolutely.
That was a channeled message.
Yeah, I'm hot.
She's radiating.
There'll
be more chocolate.
There's going to be a taking off of the sweater now.
That was a channeled message.
Absolutely.
The thing is that when, as an awake being, right? Here we go. It's kind of like a civic duty in a way, as an energy worker, a light worker, right? To be able to share information when you receive it that's been helpful to you. Because if you found it helpful and you were searching for it or seeking it, so is someone else. And so in that sharing, you may be able to help another person raise their vibration to be able to take in that information, because they're searching for it, right? They're seeking it. Yeah. So, multidimensional being. She is really warm.
I am. I had, you know, when I'm channeling, most people have a good. I feel badly for Neshi right now.
Why?
Because most people need to sit a good 6 feet away from me when I'm channeling, because it's intense. But of course, she can take it, you know, because she's Neshi. But yeah, when that energy comes through, really all it is it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth comes through in a way that for my team,
mm-hmm.
and how the channel and the opening happens through me is to do the best that we can to make it as clear as possible for as many people as possible. You know, people ask me very complicated questions and I can answer them, but the thing is, it's not about, you know, how smart is your logic brain. It's about how fully can you hold.
Right. Which comes full circle
Mm-hmm.
to being grounded, being centered, being protected.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're able to be in as full as you possibly can be,
mm-hmm.
In your own vibration, in your own integrity, right? And so you can take in information that's channeled like that, and really take it in as deep as you possibly can,
Mm-hmm.
right? To understand it in its fullness, which is generated a lot of heat. Carol's saying, thank you for being a multidimensional being. Talk with a garden living in this world. All paths are leading to the same place as a valuable perspective. It is.
Yeah.
You know, it's not being judgy about someone's selection of their path,
Yeah.
But rather maybe even being able to see it from a more broader perspective.
Yeah.
You know, as we take it in.
One of the things that I said, I've said a number of times about, you know, the past election, was that, you know, a lot of people held the intention for change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we got. We got exactly what we asked for, was change. But we weren't clear on what we wanted to change to be. We didn't hold the vision of what that was going to look like, taste like, smell like, feel like. So we got changed.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not happy, hold the vision and share the vision with others. Because again, bring together the community of multidimensional beings to hold that vision.
Right.
And then it's we can do so much more.
Right. Which brings us to Molly's comment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm conflicted about voting. The Trump election was the first time I didn't vote.
Yeah. How did that feel to not let your voice be heard?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's okay not to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard sometimes when you're, you know, I always go back to Star Trek, you know, because I got boys. So lots of Star Trek in my house. You know, one of the tests in this fictional universe
mm-hmm.
is that a captain has to go through in their training is a no-win scenario.
Right.
And so in the no-win scenario, there's no way to win. But you choose the least casualties. You choose the you know, the lesser of two evils or whatever it is. But and unfortunately, that has been a lot of our political system across the planet, not just in the U.S. Because we have international listeners who are having the same issues.
That's right.
So it's you know, it's hard for a multidimensional being in integrity to be able to actually make it onto a political platform enough to act and to generate people who will listen to them, because we're used to them being fearful. And so it's up to you whether you want to use your voice in the voting. But for me, my personal thing and the thing that sort of came through is, if I don't participate, then I don't get to complain about it. The choice I made was to not choose. And in that not choosing, the choice was made. And, you know, that's why sometimes the primaries are even more important, because that's when we have the most choices that can align with who we truly are.
Right.
not who has the most money.
And by the way, what she was talking about with Star Trek was Kobayashi Maru.
Thank you. I could, I could see it. I could see it, but I couldn't get it to come. So, you know, so this is an interesting way for us to like, why is it important to be a multidimensional being?
Mm-hmm.
Because we want to change the planet and we want to help humanity evolve out of this fearful place that we've locked ourselves into.
Right.
And if you want that to be your reality,
mm-hmm.
then it's time to open, expand, and remember
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that you hold this in you. We all do.
Right, right.
And tonight, I'll tap you into it.
Yeah.
And I
Great
mean,
place to segue.
You know, I'll tap you into that so that you can have the meditation to hold a slightly fuller version of yourself. And it will give you the energetic memory of where that is so that you can use it as your stretching point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See, thank you, Molly.
That was perfect.
Perfect, because your statement really led us to the next rung.
And your non-choice, yes,
and your
sweetie,
non-choice, yeah,
was
a choice.
That was a perfect choice.
Yeah.
Yep.
For you. It
and
was a perfect choice for you.
And the non-choosing, the amount of people who chose not to choose
mm-hmm. was
higher than the people who chose
yes.
to vote at all, chose not to participate.
Yeah.
And that's a valid place to be when you're dealing with bully energy.
Yeah, really.
Right?
Hey, Connie's here. Hi, Connie.
Hi, sweetness. How are you?
Which is a really good place to be able to pick up the conversation for tonight's show at Communications from Home. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Watch for the shares and when we pop up with the notifications, right? Because we're going to continue the conversation. And Molly, your statement was perfect because we're going to talk a little bit more about where the rubber meets the road.
Mm-hmm.
And then the meditation is going to help us to remember, as how you put it, about our fullness and how we can stretch. And it's going to be uncomfortable, that stretch.
Yeah.
But it's someplace that your soul already knows.
Yeah. And it's a stretch for me too.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that people maybe don't know is when I'm doing the healing meditations and my team is channeling through me to help you, it's helping me too. So I'm stretching right along with you. It's not like I'm already there. There's plenty more room for stretching and for growth. So We'll see you guys at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. And this will be cool. Better than a debate.
And you know what? We've never done this before. So we'll see now.
Now it's light. Let there be light. And there is when we come fully together.
Don't you just love it? All right. So you've been watching Chakra Sessions with your host, Polly Jo Labbé. And she'll be back next week.
I'll be back next week. I'll be here. Bye, guys.
Love you guys. We'll see you tonight.